Yeah, it's Clay. How's everybody doing? I got another Blacklight Retribution commentary for you today, and this was a game on Helo Deck. It was kind of a CTF. Things got a little bit crazy, but I managed to get a good number of kills. Kind of mixed it up between the heavy assault rifle and the SMG. You know, this is an interesting map. It's kind of crazy. It's a little bit kind of like a... It almost reminds me a little bit like a Nuketown from Call of Duty, from Black Ops, or maybe like a Metro from Battlefield 3, where there's a lot of action. It's a lot of... You know, you're pretty much constantly going to be in the action once you spawn in. But it's fun. I kind of like it. It's a bit more of a mindless fun. You know, but I think it works well for a game like CTF. You know, then you're always kind of... It makes it very competitive. It makes it actually very difficult to capture a flag. But I try my best to kind of play some defense and have some fun with it. But what I had on my mind today was to kind of talk a little bit about the nature of, you know, the PC gaming market specifically, and to kind of reflect a little bit on the free-to-play model. You know, Blacklight is free-to-play, and how that has kind of affected the nature of PC gaming experience. And, you know, I think the free-to-play model is really interesting. And as I've kind of gotten a little bit more involved with it, I've played Blacklight, I've played War Inc., I've played League of Legends. I think that might be it. But I really am kind of to the point where I'm a big fan of the free-to-play model, and I really think that this, going forward, could be a really, really cool way for PC gaming to, first of all, remain unique, but also remain relevant, because, and if you contrast it with the current, you know, marketplace for console games is dominated by big-name titles, by series. You know, you've got the Call of Duty series, the Battlefield series, you know, Drake's Uncharted series, the the EA Sports and their, you know, whether it's Madden or NBA type of games, everything is pretty much a series. It seems pretty rare, pretty few and far between that something kind of breaks through and is a brand new title. You know, even things like, you know, something like Skyrim. You know, that was a Bethesda title, so there was a lot of hype as it was the follow-up to Oblivion. That was a series. You know, Fallout, those type of games, they're all building off of the success of past games. It's all, you know, people know that, you know, Treyarch developed this game, so it's going to be great because they liked the last Treyarch game. You know, that's kind of the mentality, I think, that drives a lot of the mindset of current console gamers. But if you contrast that with PC gaming, I think PC gamers are, I mean, first of all, we've been around longer. I think for the most part, it's a little bit of an older community. And I also think that there's a little bit of a tendency to kind of be counter the norm, to kind of be, you know, to find that new indie title, to find that new, you know, I think new is a good thing. I think old is not always a good thing. It can be sometimes a bad thing. You know, there's a lot of disdain for the Call of Duty series. You know, I think a lot of times PC gamers are more willing to try something new, something different. So, you know, on one hand, you've got to appeal to your market. You've got to appeal to your fan base. And another thing is, getting into the PC game, as we all know, is a little bit more difficult. You know, it's to get a really nice PC gaming rig, it's a lot more expensive than to just go buy an Xbox at Target. So there's a little bit of a... You're just not going to get the big sales numbers as a lot of the console games are going for. You know, but on the other hand, it is a really, really cool opportunity for something like, you know, the free-to-play market to come in and to really solve some of these problems. I think, you know, and another thing too is on the PC it has become so easy to just torrent a game. You know, especially if it's a single-player. Multiplayer, you know, they usually can kind of counter that pretty effectively. But, you know, in the single-player world, it's really easy for people to torrent something. So it doesn't make a lot of sense for developers to put all this time and energy into a game only to see it, you know, just be stolen by, you know, thousands of people who would have potentially given them money. You know, that sucks. That's not cool. That's... I mean, I would never want that to happen to me. So I can understand how that's a big problem. And it's really difficult to police something like that. I know that SOPA and PIPA were kind of on that lines, but, you know, I don't know if they necessarily were solving the problem. That's a whole other comment. I'm not going to get into that. But that is an issue. That is definitely an issue that these developers face. There's no doubt about it. So when you bring in something like the free-to-play model, I think number one, it really helps to get your game out there. If you're an unknown developer, if like something like Zombie Studios, I had never heard of them before. You know, I heard about Blacklight Retribution, and the only reason I was drawn to this game was because it was free. It is so easy to get people attracted to your game. Pretty much all you have to do is spread the awareness that it exists, because people are going to be excited about it just because of the fact that it's free. You know, they're not necessarily going to care, you know, whether or not you're this unknown developer. They're going to like it because it's free. You know, and then contrast that with something like consoles, where you have to drop 60 bones on a developer you've never purchased from before. You've never even heard of them. So it can be really difficult to expect your customer base to want to spend a lot of money when they haven't heard of you. So it's really, I think, beneficial for newer developers to get their foot in the door and to just kind of get the ball rolling. And then if you also think about it from a monetary perspective, I think that both developers and customers win, if that makes sense. You know, if you think about a lot of the new things in consoles, you know, something like the Call of Duty Elite service or the Battlefield Premium, that's kind of been all the rage lately, is to kind of go for this, you know, bonus content subscription almost type of a fee. And I know that a lot of people look at something like that and they think that they're almost feeling cheated, like these developers are kind of stealing their money almost, and they're not really giving them a product. But if you contrast that with the free-to-play model, developers have a strong incentive to put out new stuff that's good, because then people will buy it. And for a consumer's perspective, if I see something that's really good, I will be happy to buy it. And you don't always have to put down $60. Sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's 10, you know. It can be a pretty minuscule amount. You know, to this date, I have yet to actually spend a cent on Blacklight Retribution. But you know what? If something new came out and it was you know, something that I really wanted and I didn't want to grind for it, I think that it would be totally worth my while to spend $5 or $10 to get a couple of things unlocked really easily. I mean, that's, for me, I don't ever have to worry about feeling, oh, I'm getting cheated. You know, they're stealing from me. I'm not getting what I'm paying for. It's very, very balanced in terms of, you know, when developers put out good content, consumers are willing to buy it because it's good, and they're not feeling like they're getting ripped off in any way. You know, and I also think that, you know, specifically in the way that it deals with hackers, I think is really cool, because it's free. Who's gonna hack a free game? That doesn't even make sense. You know, and maybe there are guys who will cheat and mod to give themselves, you know, godlike features, and especially if, you know, the games kind of take off in popularity. But in terms of just, you know, solving the torrent problem, I think the free-to-play model is perfect. You know, how can you? It doesn't even make sense. Like, I think the only thing that you could potentially torrent would be like a save file where you have everything unlocked, and I'm not even necessarily sure if that even makes sense, because I don't know, that kind of removes all the fun out of it. I know that a lot of people really enjoy grinding, and you know, and kind of putting the effort in to learn a game. You know, whereas if you let someone play your game for free just to try it, it's going to be so much more likely that they're not going to want to steal it, because once you get them in, once they've tried it, either they're going to like it and they'll think, yeah, I want to stay, I like this game, I appreciate it, I want to be a part of it, or they're going to say, hey, that sucked, and they're probably never going to come back. So you never have them worrying about stealing it or trying to, you know, hack the game in some crazy way. So I really think that it is an effective solution for that. You know, and I think that in terms of just kind of the future of PC gaming and kind of, you know, moving away from this, you know, $60 upfront one-time fee, you know, I just don't think that that model is as appealing. I know it's not for me. It's not as appealing as, you know, putting in what I want, you know, because now I have the choice. I have the power. I think anytime you give consumers that choice is a good thing. Because if I want to put $5 in, I can do that, and I can get $5 worth of quality. Whereas if I think it's worth 50, I can do 50. You know, it's all up to you. It's whatever you want to put into it. And I think that's really sweet. You know, and if you look at the downside, I feel like it does make it a little bit more, I would say it makes it a little bit more tricky for developers to really make sure that they're getting consistent revenue. You know, and it can make it challenging. You know, how do you put progression into a game? How do you know, release, you know, some stuff like DLC or stuff like a lot of those questions of ongoing consistent revenue become a little bit more tricky. But I really think that the benefits outweigh, some of the problems and the issues associated with it, because I think it's such a unique and helpful solution. So that's my time. Those are some of the things that I'm really thinking about the free-to-play model, and I'm excited to see how this continues on the PC. But hope you guys have enjoyed, and I'll see you later.